Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to season 2 of the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone Puzzle Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone Puzzle Method, an infertility warrior, 2-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. Today's guest is Samantha Gladish. She's a registered holistic nutritionist, weight loss coach, hormone fixer-upper, metabolic balance coach, and author of the Amazon bestseller, The 30-Day Hormone Solution. She is also host of one of Canada's top-rated podcasts, Healthy Hormones for Women. She is the founder of holisticwellness.ca, a website dedicated to helping women lose weight and balance their hormones with delicious food. Her passion for business is an extension of her work as a health coach, which led her to develop her own online business mentorship program for practitioners and nutritionists. Samantha speaks internationally on all things health and wellness, as well as entrepreneurship in her spare time. And you can find her in her spare time baking up delicious, healthy treats in her kitchen. Now let's welcome Samantha to the show and make sure you stay till the end to hear a word from our sponsors. Today's show is sponsored by Tempdrop. Identify your fertility window in real time with Tempdrop. Hey, Samantha, thanks for being here. Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I am super excited to talk to you. So why don't you just tell us a little more about you, kind of who you are and how you started working in women's health?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Samantha Gladish. I'm an online nutritionist, women's health coach. I specialize in weight loss and women's hormonal health. And I feel like so many of us get into this health and wellness space because of our own health issues. So back when I was in my teens, I had struggled a lot with PMS and was dealing with a lot of the typical PMS symptoms and pains and the cramps and the headaches and just the discomfort and the bloating and the water retention, the breast tenderness, all of the things.
All of it.
And so how fun, all of that is. And so, yeah. And so I went to my doctor and, had this conversation around my period and the pain and all of that, and was handed a pack of birth control pills like most women are, and just kind of sent off on my way. And I was maybe 16, 17 at the time. So of course, I didn't know anything about the pill. I trusted whatever, my doctor suggested. My parents were also unaware about the birth control pill. It was just like, if this is something that's going to make you better, great, take it. And so, of course I took it for a good almost 8 years. And I had thinning hair and just like mood swings and irritability and some anxiousness, and never would have thought that that was because of the birth control pill.
Right.
Yeah. And then as I started to dive in a little bit deeper, and I mean, I was always innately interested in health and wellness. Like it was always this passion of mine, even from a young age, and like a little girl playing in the garden, being around healthy food. My grandmother made everything from scratch. My mother makes everything from scratch. Like I was always just so connected to like food and health and fitness and movement. Like that was such a big part of my life. But of course, those healthy habits die hard as you start to age,
Right.
or when you're in your teens and out with your friends and all that kind of stuff. Right. But yeah, it was really in my early 20s where I started to decide, like really think about my career path and what I wanted to do. And then when I learned that, oh, I could actually be a nutritionist, like you could do that.
Right.
So when I started to dive into nutrition and really understood a little bit more about what was happening with my hormones and the pill and all of that, I really started to just take more personal action into my my health and my wellness, and started to do things more naturally and reclaim my hormonal health and ultimately ditch the pill. And so
Mm.
that's kind of the long story, but that's ultimately how I really got interested in being in this space, was my own journey.
I love that. And I find so many of us, that's our stories of how we got here is, we had our own struggles with, with me, it was infertility, with other people, it was pill or hormonal issues. And
Right.
what a great testament to you can reverse that naturally and you can heal holistically. So I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
So you talk a lot about thyroid, and I feel like I don't
Mhm.
talk enough about thyroid on this show. So let's talk a little bit about that. Kind of what does our thyroid do and how can we make sure it's, in optimal health?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about the thyroid, having personal issues with my thyroid and Hashimoto's, which I can share a bit about that. And we work with so many women in our practice that are dealing with low thyroid function. And so your thyroid is this butterfly shaped gland that's basically like the base of your neck. And it does a lot.
Right.
It's involved in so many different processes in the body. And oftentimes when we think about the thyroid, a lot of us relate the thyroid to weight gain and,
Mm,
and metabolism. That's typically what we hear a lot about, because a lot of women are like, oh, I'm gaining weight, it must be low thyroid. And yes, there's definitely a correlation there, but the thyroid doesn't just govern your metabolism for per se of just weight gain and weight loss. It's the metabolism of your entire body. So that means the metabolism of your ovaries and your fertility and your estrogen and your progesterone. So there's a big connection there with sex hormones.
mm,
Even just like how your digestion moves, right? And like getting things moving through your digestive system and eliminating effectively. So if you have a sluggish digestion or bloating or indigestion or acid reflux or constipation, that can often be related to low thyroid output. If you're having issues with fertility, and I'm sure perhaps maybe you came across this in your journey of looking at, thyroid health and making sure
mhm.
that was optimized, which can often be overlooked because we just think of sex hormones when we
Right.
think of fertility, but it's so much more than that, right? And so if you're dealing with PMS issues and period pain and just cycle irregularity, that could again be linked to your thyroid. It also plays a really big role with just brain health and brain like clarity and your memory and just how you think. And so if you're dealing with a lot of that brain fog, that can often be sluggish thyroid. And your thyroid and your adrenals are so interconnected. If there's thyroid issues going on, there's a really good chance there's adrenal issues going on. They really do communicate to each other. So if you've got this adrenal dysfunction sort of going on, and basically if you're stressed,
Right.
you are probably
We
going to
are.
have, a low thyroid output essentially. So when your adrenals are functioning high, so when there's like a high output of like, cortisol and adrenaline and go, go, go and type A, got to get things done and not stopping and all of
Same
that,
here.
yep,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs for sure. And when there's a lot of that going on, basically when the adrenals are functioning high, the thyroid will be functioning low. So they can't, you can't have one high and like, if one's high, one's going to be low and vice versa. So that's often what happens. So, yeah, the thyroid is super important. And we can, dive in a little bit deeper in terms of like Hashimoto's or nutrients for thyroid or wherever you want to go with that.
Yeah, let's dive in a little deeper on thyroid because, like I said, we don't talk about enough on this show. And like you just mentioned, it does so many things in our bodies that we don't even realize. And I love that you talked about how it helps with metabolism of our overall system. So, how
Mhm.
our hormones are being metabolized is just as important as what the levels are. If your body's not using them the way they need to be used, then you're going to have issues, you're going to have symptoms. So, I love that you talk about that. So, let's talk about what we can do for thyroid health. What are maybe 3 things that we should be focused on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned adrenals. So that's a really key piece here is to manage your stress. And I know that's just like I'm getting eye rolls right now.
Right?
And I know it's not the sexiest
Virtual eye
topic, yeah, to talk about, but your stress is so important here. And when I say stress, I mean, there's obviously stressors in our life that we just can't easily eliminate, right? And of course, there's things like, having a sick parent or losing a loved one. Like, yeah, that's a stressor, of course. And that's something that's going to take time. And so, if that is something that you're going through or that's happening right now, it's the things that could make that worse, like eating poorly, not sleeping, not having sleep boundaries, constantly overworking because you're trying to, keep yourself busy, which is just going to add more stress. So it's the self-care piece that we really have to look at. So if you've got these stressors, work, family, kids, whatever that's happening that you can't just like, poof, just eliminate,
Right?
then, let's look at how you're implementing self-care. And so your sleep plays a big role in that. What are your sleep boundaries? Are you, staying up late, watching Netflix at night, drinking a glass of wine as a way to unwind? Things like that are going to have to shift because it's just adding more fuel to the fire for sure. And so you really want to be conscious of that. Sleep is a big one for sure. Because if you're not sleeping, you're not healing. And so you really want to have those healthy sleep boundaries and getting to bed, between 10, 11, the latest. Having just that nighttime wind down, it's going to be so important.
Mm.
And just finding like healthy ways of winding down that don't always involve like the glass of wine or the TV or something like that. It might be a hot bath or a shower or reading a book or something like that, or going outside for a walk or something like that. So adrenals for sure. You got to find ways to really optimize the stress and really have those self-care boundaries in place. Nutrition obviously plays a really big role here, as it does with everything.
Yes.
So nutrition for sure. The thyroid needs nutrients. It needs zinc. It needs selenium. It needs magnesium. It needs vitamin D. So your diet, having a variety of fruits and vegetables in your diet and having those leafy greens in your diet and, getting that fiber in. The healthy fat is so essential for your hormones. Your hormones can't function without fat. So avocados or avocado oil, olives, olive oil, nuts, seeds, grass-fed butter, ghee, coconut oil. I mean, there's so many amazing fats, and we don't want to fear those fats. They help build, our brain. So especially if you're dealing with sluggish thyroid and have that brain fog, fuel your brain with those healthy fats for sure. So the nutrition is really key. And then like on the nutrition side, it's looking at, okay, what do we want to include, but also what do we want to exclude? So the inflammatory pieces here of, I always say like the big three: gluten, dairy, and sugar. In the case of the thyroid, I might add in grains because sometimes they can be problematic. So something to play around with. It's not just like a blanket statement that that everyone can benefit from that, but it's worth playing around with to see how your body, really, really handles those grains and digests those grains. And they can also be very, they're sugar. Ultimately, they're
Right.
carbohydrates, right? So especially as we age, we have a harder time assimilating carbs, and how our body uses insulin in our 40s and our 50s is very different than when we were in our teens and our 20s. So your carb intake and carb tolerance, something you might have to play around with there. And that could overall lead to like some sluggishness and of course weight gain and things like that. So yeah, just focusing on a healthy diet, sleep, self-care, and really good nutrition.
I love it. And those are all the pieces we focus on here at the Hormone Puzzle podcast. So that was wonderful.
Amazing.
I love
Awesome.
it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Awesome.
Yes. Well, let's talk about gut health a little bit. Another one I feel like is under talked about. So talk to me about that. How important is gut health and what do we do to optimize that?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, as I'm sure many of your listeners have heard, your gut is kind of like your second brain, and it's involved in so many different processes in your body. And the reason it's your second brain is, well, it does communicate with the brain, and it's also playing a role in your immune health. Your immune system lives in your gut. So if you're dealing with, for example, like myself, an autoimmune issue, even more reason to optimize the gut and support the gut, especially with all that's going on in the world right now, just optimizing your immune system, which is really key. So that lives in your gut. But then the different microbes in your gut, like they're busy. They're helping produce and support neurotransmitters and different, nutrients, B vitamins and magnesium, and like they're involved in so many different processes. So from nutrient absorption and creation and neurotransmitters, like they play, that the microbes play a really, really big role in ultimately how you're going to feel. So again, going back to the, gluten, dairy, sugar, those can be very problematic for the gut. So we want to be really mindful of that and really conscious of, what it is we're eating, because what we're eating is feeding the gut. So, how do we want to feed the gut? What do we want to feed the gut? We obviously want to feed it really good nutrition. We want to have variety. We want to have all those good polyphenols and antioxidants and whatnot in our food. So variety is so key. Garlic, onions are really fantastic. They also have a really potent sulfur compound to them, which is great for liver detoxification as well. And that sulfur is really good for all those microbes. Jicama is a really good veggie that is also a prebiotic as well. So that's going to be great for feeding the gut. Things like bone broth can be so great for healing the gut. And when I say healing the gut, just to take it a little step back, stress, sugar, gluten, dairy, processed vegetable oils, medications, antibiotics, smoking, all of these things can damage the gut lining. And if that gut lining gets damaged, and I think it's safe to say pretty much 99.9% of us probably have some damaged gut lining going on, right? I mean, if you've just taken just one antibiotic or one medication in your lifetime, you've caused damage to the gut. So we want to heal that gut lining, because those pores in the lining, if those start to break apart, then we can have things that start to get into the immune system, into the bloodstream, and it can cause your immune system to go a little bit haywire. And so that's why we really want to manage, what's going on with the gut and how we're feeding it. So being conscious of eliminating those inflammatory foods, and then of course being conscious of just like medication and antibiotic use, like whenever it's absolutely necessary, just be really mindful of that. Is really key. Probiotics are so helpful, of course. So whether you're taking a probiotic supplement or you're eating your probiotics from, kefir, or I know some people say kefir, so however you want to say it, or some kimchi or sauerkraut, those can be really fabulous for really feeding the gut. Kombucha is a great option too. You just want to be conscious of the sugar intake there.
Yes.
Yeah, there's lots there.
Yes, I love it. And do you have a favorite probiotic?
I like the Megaspore. I do like that one.
I love that
And yeah, I really do like that one. There's tons that I've used over the years. There's some from like Designs for Health, Progressive. I don't know if Progressive is in the US, but
I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know. I do
they've
Designs for Health. I've seen that one.
yeah, Designs for Health has some really good ones. Progressive had came up with some really great ones as well. And AOR, Can Prep. There's been some really great brands, but I definitely like the spore based for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Well, let's talk a little bit about myths. What are
Mhm.
some myths that you might hear around just hormonal health in general? And let's debunk a couple of those. So maybe like 2 myths that you hear.
Okay, myths. I mean, a weight loss myth, which obviously hormones
Mhm.
are involved with our weight loss and our weight gain. Eating less, exercising more. That's
Mm.
probably the biggest the
That one
biggest
comes up a
one.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that is for sure the biggest one. And it's just not true.
Right.
It's just not true. I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, calories are going to matter. If you're overdoing it with calories, for sure, that's going to be issues, cause issues with weight gain. But if you are highly stressed and you're undercutting your calories, which is also a stressor, and then you're trying to, push and over exercise, that's just a disaster. That is, yeah. And so you'll actually find that you will gain weight because your body is in this stress state and it's trying to now protect you. And so sometimes it does that by adding fat to the body. And it's this
Right.
protective mechanism. It feels like it's in this famine,
Mhm.
and so it's going to preserve, like, all this fat that it possibly can. And so you end up gaining weight in that regard. And then, as most, a lot, not to say everybody does this in the industry, but there's a big myth in the industry around the low calorie and the over exercising. And there's no talk about how your insulin plays the role, how your sex hormones play a role, your thyroid output. These are really important things to look at. So when somebody is just telling you, eat less, over, go exercise more, and it's not working for you, and you've done that, it's time to look deeper and look at, okay, what's going on hormonally here? Because really your hormones are running the show.
For sure. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And it frustrates me so much when people say, my doctor just told me to eat less and work out more. And I'm like, but you've been doing that. It's not working.
Yeah,
So let's
totally.
figure
How's
it
that
out.
working for you? I
Right.
know. I know. So
Oh
I
my,
mean, that's one myth. I mean, another one is balance your hormones by taking the pill.
right. Oh,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
another one
that's
that's,
that's a really, really big one. And I mean, I think it's unfortunate that we go on the pill because we obviously want to have this like sexual liberation, and we feel it's just going to give us this easy breezy cycle and this regularity, and it actually just gives it the complete opposite of all of that.
right.
We end up losing our libido. We have hair loss. It shuts down our thyroid. It shuts down ovulation, which is actually how we produce our estrogen and progesterone. And it just creates this cascade of nutrient deficiencies, gut issues. And so many women, myself included, that go on the pill experience a lot of side effects. And then they come off the pill, and it's, this whole kind of like trying to swing the pendulum to get everything back,
Mm,
get your hormone health back and get your cycle back and replenish all the nutrient loss, and optimize the thyroid. And so the birth control pill does not balance your hormones.
right.
That is the biggest myth. So
I love that we debunked both of those. So thank you for that.
yeah, my pleasure.
So we're going to take a short break and hear a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, we're going to talk about your book, The 30-Day Hormone Solution, and more practical tips on how to balance our hormones in a holistic way. So we'll be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. I am super excited to introduce you to today's sponsor, Tempdrop. Tempdrop gives you everything you need to effortlessly track your fertility. Wear the Tempdrop sensor while you sleep for accurate basal body temperature readings without the stress of early morning wake ups. Tempdrop's accompanying app enables you to chart an array of symptoms alongside your BBT, including cervical mucus and OPKs. Combine these fertility signs all in one place to identify your fertile window and to confirm ovulation. Whether you're trying to conceive, are avoiding pregnancy, or want to chart your health for other reasons, Tempdrop makes fertility awareness accessible to all women, even if you don't have a regular cycle or sleeping pattern. Visit www.tempdrop.com/puzzle for 15% off your order. Hey, Samantha, welcome back. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about your book. I
Awesome.
love it. The 30-Day Hormone Solution. Tell us what that's about and how it can help us with our hormones.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for it. It's definitely my book baby, and spent a really long time creating it. Basically, that book was created out of this need. And really the question was that I asked myself was, if I could just give women all of my knowledge and the foundational things that could really move the needle forward for them, like what would that look like? And that's what I put in the book. So the real basic information, and I mean, it obviously goes a lot beyond the basic stuff, but those real foundational concepts and strategies to help support our hormones. I dive into gut health and the simple things to support the gut and heal the gut. I dive into liver detoxification and the things we can do every day to optimize the health of the liver and just gently detox our body. And there's a chapter on thyroid health and adrenal health. And I tell my story with the birth control pill, and there's a whole protocol in there about coming off of the pill. There's thyroid protocols, adrenal protocols. I definitely mentioned Hashimoto's in there in my story with that, and supplementing and protocols around autoimmune specifically. And so that's kind of the first half of the book. It's really meant to empower women to just understand their bodies and just the inner workings of their bodies, because it's just something a lot of us have not learned, or that we're not taught in school or anything like that. So that's really the first half of the book. And then the second half of the book is 60 gluten-free, grain-free recipes. And they're super delicious. I spent a long time creating them. And the best is when I have like a client that I'm on a Zoom call with, and their husband like pops into the video and he's like, I've been cooking all the recipes in your book. And I'm like, oh, I love this so much. Yeah, it's so great. So even though the book is obviously for women and women's hormones, the recipes are really meant for like the entire family. Everybody can benefit from eating them, and they're so delicious. And that's ultimately one of the things I really wanted to share women, was that you don't have to feel restricted and you don't have to feel deprived. You can eat really delicious, amazing food and support your health from head to toe.
I love that. And I've got to get a copy of this book because I've been hearing you talk about it on other shows. And I'm like, I need to try this recipes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, send me over your address and we'll get one out to you for sure.
Thank you. So, and I love that you talk about liver detox, because again, I feel like that is not talked about enough. We we always think about gut health, brain health, adrenals even, but not our liver. So talk to me about that. What are a couple of your top tips for detoxing our liver health in a healthy way?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our liver is so important because it has over 500 detoxification processes that it's doing in the body. It's detoxing everything that you are literally breathing, touching, ingesting, like all of the things have to get processed through the liver. And so it's working really hard for you every day, and it's breaking down hormones as well. It's detoxing those hormones. So it plays a really big role with our overall hormonal health. So we want to make sure that we are supporting the liver with, again, really good nutrition. I mentioned garlic and onions earlier, and actually they're fantastic for the liver. Really, really great for liver detoxification. Vitamin C. So whether you're supplementing with vitamin C or you're eating a lot of vitamin C rich foods, that's going to be really fantastic for the liver as well. Vitamin C plays a really big role in the detoxification pathways. One of my favorite things to do is castor oil packs. I highly recommend them.
You too.
And yeah, they're my favorite. And they're such a great way to gently detox the liver. And, when I say detox, I think a lot of people think like, oh, I got to take these like herbs and these pills and like run to the bathroom like every couple hours and like, have this laxative effect. And like, that's not what detoxification is. I mean, that might be a route somebody wants to take, but that's not the effective long-term route that you want to take. Like I said, we detox every day, and your liver's detoxing and all these things that you're coming in contact with. So it's the little things that we do every day. So castor oil packs are a great, gentle way to really optimize the health of the liver and get things moving. Because that's what we want. We ultimately want to get things moving through the body so that they can get out of the body, so that we are detoxing and not retoxing. And so castor oil just comes from a seed. You can buy the oil pretty much at any health food store for the most part. I definitely recommend finding it in a glass bottle, and just put about a tablespoon or so just right over your liver, which is located on the right-hand side, just sort of under your ribs. And there is a saying with castor oil that you can do. I don't know if you've heard this before, but like you can rub it from boobs to pubes.
Wow, I've not heard that. I love it.
And like, I love saying that because I know people will never forget it.
Right? I love that.
Yeah. So that's one way to use it. You can rub it on your liver and do the whole boobs to pubes thing. And the reason you would put it everywhere is because it's great for helping with any cysts or any growths or even scar tissue. So if you're dealing with like breast tenderness, even just like stomach upsets and discomfort or any cysts within the ovaries, like rubbing it everywhere can actually be really quite beneficial. So you can definitely do that. And I like to put on my castor oil and then go into my infrared sauna. So the heat really does help to absorb it and get it working. And you could use a hot water bottle and place that over your liver for sure. That's one way to do it, but just avoid it while you're on your period, especially if you do have a heavier flow. But all the other weeks are totally fine.
Yeah, I love that. And I recommend castor oil a lot to my TTC clients who are trying to get pregnant. And I do exactly what you said. I have them do it on their abdomen after their period until ovulation, but then we move it up to the liver. So during that luteal phase, we're helping detox that liver. So I love that you said that. Perfect.
That's great.
I love it.
It's a great strategy.
Yes. So talk to us about where we can find you. Where can we get the book? Where can we find more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find the book pretty much everywhere, pretty much wherever books are sold, Amazon, Indigo, any place like that online. Your local health, not maybe your local health food store might have it,
Right.
but your local bookstore for sure, if they're opened, right? And outside of that, if you want to connect with me, I love hanging out on Instagram and post lots of recipes and info there over on our feed there at Holistic Wellness Foodie. And then my website, holisticwellness.ca, is where you can find everything there, from our podcast to great blogs and recipes and our programs. Everything's listed there.
I love it. I love it. And talk to me a little more about your favorite recipes from the book. Maybe like 2 that are your go-to.
Oh my God, that is so hard.
Right?
It is so hard. I love baking. So
Yes.
if I'm going to bake something, the chocolate chip tahini cookies are really, really good. Yeah, those are really, really good for sure. And then the Korean beef short ribs is such a delicious recipe, and it's just, you throw it in your Instant Pot, and it's a pretty much like set it and forget it. And so I love that one. If you want like a meal that feels like it's super fancy, but it's really not, it's so quick to put together, then yeah, that one for sure.
I love it. I love it. So any final thoughts before we close out here today?
Man, I mean, I feel like I could just keep talking. Right? There's so much to always say. Honestly, I just want to leave everyone with, the thought that, you're so worth it and you're so deserving of amazing health and vitality, and to not put yourself last on the list, and to really just listen to those little symptoms, those little whispers that your body is sending you. Really pay attention to that, because if we don't, down the road, it can lead to not a whisper, it leads to a scream. And that's the last thing we want. So I know prevention sometimes doesn't sound very sexy, but it's so, so important.
So important. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was so fun to talk to you, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
For sure. And thank you guys for listening to the Hormone Puzzle podcast. Until next time, bye for now. Today's show is sponsored by Tempdrop. Tempdrop, know your cycle, understand your body. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alerts, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. So make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.